I'm Brian Wallace.
And this is a P-News episode, actually. Usually we're doing Awareness Transformation, but this is a P-News video that we're doing. And Brian, I have to say there's an important event in my life coming up.
A little bit.
I am standing in front of the Presbytery at the Presbytery meeting for ordination.
Ordination and call.
And call.
So we're doing two things.
At the
Presbytery meeting. We are both voting whether to ordain Ralph and also whether to call him, so that I will no longer be the only associate minister, Pittsburgh Presbytery, but that we will have two. And that's a pretty big deal.
It's a very big deal, and I'm looking forward to all of you participating in that because you've been so warm and welcoming to me, and I really appreciate all of you. So please come out for the Presbytery meeting on May 19th at 1 o'clock at the PTS. I look forward to seeing your lovely faces. But as much as I'm excited to be a part of the things that are going to happen on the Presbytery floor to me, I am way more excited to have my ordination.
If the way be clear, right? We have to be Presbyterian about it.
If the way be clear.
We have to say if the way be clear. But if the way be clear, sometime after,
yes,
you will be ordained. And here's my question. Why does that matter? I mean, it's not going to change the job you do just because we have a worship service.
I will speak to that and simply say, for me, it matters for us to celebrate these moments in our lives.
It does, absolutely.
I think, Brian, especially coming out of this pandemic, as we slowly come out of it, we need to actually celebrate a little more.
I would agree.
It's been a tough 2.5 years. It is. I think it's vital for us to take our opportunities to celebrate. I know if the way be clear, in my preparation for ordination, I get excited even thinking about that, thinking about being around the people that have nurtured me and loved me through this process and just being available for me at any time. And I don't know if we've had enough of that, or at least I don't think that I have over the past year. So I'm looking forward to that. But that being said, B, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If the way be clear,
Yep.
in about a month, you will no longer be the only associate in the Pittsburgh Presbytery. What advice do you normally give as an associate?
So the first piece of advice I give any congregation when I sit down with the session, when the pastor is moving on, when they're taking another call, when they're retiring, is I say the first step in a good transition is a good celebration. You cannot transition well unless you celebrate well. And I learned this a very important, not actually a hard way, but a very important way. My ordination was not relaxing. My ordination was January 7th, 2007 in upstate New York, and there was a snowstorm. And I had to get back to Pittsburgh. It was not relaxing. It was a wonderful celebration, but it was not relaxing.
Yeah.
But when I finished up my time at Hampton, they were like, we have to have a party. And I was like, no, we don't. We don't need to have a party. We do not need to have a party. And people said, no, Brian, we need to have a party. Yeah. Both Renee and I, my wife, we had served on staff there. She'd been on staff for 8.5 years. I'd been on staff for 10. Like, no, we need to have a celebration. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. And finally they were like, fine, we'll serve pulled pork and mac and cheese. Will you show up? And they went for the jugular because I couldn't, I can't say no.
You can't say no.
And I said, okay, yeah. So we had a celebration. It was in Fellowship Hall. It was pretty simple. And as I sat there, I was like, it's really important for these people, for my people, to get to be able to say goodbye to me. Right?
Yes.
And it's really important they get to say their piece. This is so good for them. But it was awesome.
That's right.
As much as I hate to admit it.
That's right.
It was really good for me.
Yes.
Right? It was good for me to hear from students and from parents and from parishioners who I didn't even think I had that much of an impact on, to be able to tell me how much they had enjoyed my time in service there. It was good for my wife to hear the same thing from young families and people who said, I would have been involved in church, but Renee wrote me into Sunday school or VBS and now I can't quit, right? And so celebrating well, I think, launched me into this call better, right? I think because of that celebration. And I also want to say, I think it helped the church say goodbye and bring a closure to the Wallace's time at Hampton and move on to what was next.
Yeah. I think what's really striking to me in your testimony there is the fact that you didn't realize until you were in it how much you needed that celebration.
See, I didn't want to need it.
Right.
I didn't want to need
it. Right. And I think that's wonderful, because I think especially now as churches are transitioning into whatever is new for them in their ministries, I think the message that I want to say, B, is that remember to celebrate. Remember to celebrate one another, your ministries, your time together, because I know for a lot of these churches that you're listening, you were apart for a significant amount of time for some. So if, and I know we can be a little tired, especially coming out of the pandemic. So this is not Ralph and Brian standing up here giving you more work
to do.
More to do. Please hear us. But I think we do want to raise the fact that you need to be able to celebrate. And even in small ways, just celebrate. Come together. Still try to have a meal if you feel safe enough to do that. Just little things to celebrate. I know for me, and you articulated this well, sometimes you don't even realize how much you need to celebrate until you're in a celebration, right?
I mean, I've had so many people say, at like the first in-person session meeting, oh, I so enjoyed this.
Yes.
I mean, it was a session meeting,
right?
Right? These were not things that prior to March of 2020 people were enjoying,
right?
But we still needed that. I called you last night. I was on my way home from meeting, and this is a classic example. This was a church that 2 years ago was split, rife with conflict, ugly congregational meetings. It was just all bad. And 2 years later, they unanimously voted to extend their designated pastor to install, right? In a half an hour, like 7 people on session, half of whom couldn't stand each other 2 years ago, were sitting there going, yep, unanimous, we're done, right? And I was like, oh, that's over. What's next? I was like, oh, hold up.
Right.
This is a moment for celebration.
Yes.
And to say, look how far we've come. And I think, congregational leaders, pastors, they easily criticize themselves.
Yeah.
They easily point out everything that they've done wrong and everything that's not going the way that they want to. And they never take a moment to celebrate the good things that have happened.
I couldn't agree more. I was with a session 2 nights ago where unfortunately they had decided to, I shouldn't say unfortunately because they wouldn't agree with that statement. They decided to not worship together anymore at the end of last year. But they're still a church, we're still meeting as a session, I'm still moderating them, and we spent about half an hour doing the work, and they spend most of that time talking about the missions that they want to support around the community that they used to worship in, right? And as we ended that, and they were talking, we were laughing, we were prayer concerns and blessings, I said at the end, I'm like, listen, you guys have shown that this can be done well. Unfortunately, the ministry that they used to have within the 4 walls that they shared no longer was happening, but their ministry continues because they choose to come together today and still celebrate themselves in ways to help through mission, loving one another. It was so wonderful to be a part of, and I share with them, it is a blessing for me. I celebrate just spending time with them because they're really showing me what ministry is all about. They really are.
So I think to close, there's a little holiday in life of the church coming up called Pentecost, right? And Pentecost is the birthday of the church, and I've been at churches where they get out the cake and everyone, right? And it almost seems silly, right? But I wonder if Pentecost isn't a good occasion.
Yeah.
As I talked to some pastors who said that Easter Sunday this year was the first Sunday that felt like a Sunday.
Like a Sunday, yeah.
In a long time,
yeah.
Right? And if Pentecost isn't another opportunity to celebrate in some little way, whether it be, if you got a small church of 15 people, rent out a banquet hall, right? Or rent out a room at a restaurant, and just go out to eat. Something that gathers you together, that doesn't add to your workload, that gives you a chance to say, hey, these have been a tough couple of years, but we're still here, we're still in service, and we are still worshiping and serving the Lord.
Yeah. So usually I'm the one that gives this directive of what Brian and I would like out of these messages, but I can't sum it up better than what you just said, buddy. So thank you for that.
All right. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on May 19th at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, where we all get to examine and welcome Ralph. Have a great week.
Blessings.